The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
I listened to it a little bit on Overdrive. I can't remember what I was listening to, but the reports came out. And they were talking about Mike Babcock and a situation that he had with the Columbus Blue Jackets, looking at streaming pictures from his players' phones and scrolling through people's phones to look at what they did that summer, and on it went. And then it kind of went away because the Babcock thing, it went away that and nobody really thought much of it because there's the Spit and Chicklets guys are a reliable source. I mean, the biggest hockey podcast out there, and they have a lot of players who follow them and talk with Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney, and it's huge. And so it was out there, and it didn't go away because there was a comment that happened when the Columbus Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner and their superstar Johnny Gaudreau and the team put out a statement, said, yeah, this is a nothing burger, it's no big deal. Let's stop it right there. Dave, when you first heard about this story, what's the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, there's a bit of a head scratcher because when I heard it, like when I saw that clip from Bissonnette saying that, and he's like, well, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Who the fuck does he think he is wanting to look at guys' phones? But then when Boone Jenner and Gaudreau both said, I heard Gaudreau's interview. I was listening to the Elliot Freeman 32 Thoughts. He just happened to be on, like he was a scheduled guest. That was going to be the day after. And Gaudreau said it was kind of a nice thing. I sat in his office and he asked, and they go, well, can I see some pictures of your family? And Gaudreau was, I think he's a straight shooter, this Gaudreau kid. I think he's a really nice guy. Yeah, nothing to hide. And he goes, yeah, I love talking about my family. I love doing it. And I thought it was a nice thing for a coach to do, to come in and learn about his players. You know, I listened to that interview. And then, so at first blush, even though I thought it was odd to read that Jenner release and then to hear Gaudreau talk about it, I thought, well, you know, it sounds like a nice thing to do for a coach to get to know his superstars. So, you know, after that explanation, I thought we were done.
I thought it was nothing burger at that point. And I got talking, me and Dan were talking about it a little bit because I remember back in 2016 or 15, whatever it was, and I was working up north, and we did this thing. You put pictures up on the wall that was why I work safe, right? So it was kind of that same thing of for other people to get to know your family. Because we work with guys from all over the country, so you never seen anybody. So you put names to faces, and so you go, oh, there's your daughter, there's your son, there's your wife, there's your husband, whatever it might be. So I was kind of thinking, well, then maybe that's just all it was. Maybe that's all it was. It was just a good way for people to get to know each other a little bit, because Babcock was a new guy, and it was something that, like, why I work safe was one of those things. So I put up, pictures of my family back in the day up on the wall, and so I was thinking maybe that was the same kind of thing, a team building thing, a team bonding thing, management getting to know their workers, and with Babcock, the hockey players that are going to play for him this season. Then it got weird. To me because on Friday, Ron Hainsey ended up going down, the head of NHLPA. He ended up going down to Ohio, and Marty Walsh, who's the brand new guy, took head of the NHLPA. They went down to Ohio, to Columbus, to do a little more investigating. And that's where it really got weird, because all of a sudden on Sunday afternoon, Babcock is issuing a statement. The reports went out about noon on yesterday that he was going to be holding a press conference or letting out a statement. He was going to be resigning as a head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's where everything kind of gets weird for me, because like you said, Dave, you had your two leaders of the team say things are fine. You had the teams come out, the team come out and say things are fine. And then two third-party people come out and say things aren't fine. Things aren't fine. And then Mike Babcock and his great big head and his great big ego are jumping in his great big Ford truck and heading to Saskatchewan yesterday. It's over.
Yeah. So
that's where it gets weird for me.
It's totally weird for me. And I listened to, so the podcast I'm talking about with Elliot on 32 Thoughts was, I think, on Thursday or Friday. It's not important. And then I listened to the one they released today. And that's exactly what Friedman said. It was that they heard from someone else, someone phoned the union and say, "Hey, you're talking to the wrong people. Talk to this person and talk to this person." And so from there was no names dropped, and then that's when it got weird, and then that's where the snowball started rolling down the hill. And come Sunday afternoon, that snowball came and fucked the hit the big head right in the face, all over the face. Get in your car, pack your shit, get the fuck out of town. It makes me wonder, like, it's, you and I say this all the time, and Friedman thinks it's a lot like the older players, the more established players, they didn't have a problem with this at all. Whereas a lot of the younger kids kind of had a problem, and they felt intimidated by it, and that kind of thing. And which brings me to, like, what you and I say about today's athletes, particularly in the NHL. The young ones, they're a bunch of spoiled little babies, right? And then maybe they don't know how to say no. Like, no one had a gun at your head. I don't think he was walking around.
Well,
Hey, like,
no, Dave, I know what you're saying, and I do think that there are some entitled little pricks that play professional sports nowadays, and there's no getting around that. I've never hidden that by any means throughout the 3-year history of the 1420 podcast, but there's a situation, man, like that's just fucking weird. That because if I'm 49 years old, and if I was to walk into my place of employment, whether I worked at a fucking bakery, a grocery store, an office, a construction site, and if my employer said, "Hey, let me see your phone, take some pictures," and start streaming it on the fucking thing, I'm like, what the fuck? That's
but
weird.
I can't imagine that's what happened. I can't imagine that. Like, no one, no, like, then yes, if that's what happens, I have no issue at all. But well, maybe one of the young guys or whatever,
Because
like that.
okay, because if Goudreau and let's just hypothetical this. If Goudreau and Jenner were the first two to go into Bab's office and be the first two to do this, they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, my phone, I got nothing to hide. I got a long-term contract. I've got $50 million in the bank and everything else. I got nothing to fucking lose, right? And Babcock's not gonna alienate those two guys because that's the backstone of the franchise. It's the new guys or the guy with a 1-year contract or a professional trial, a PTO who's just there for a week and a half, or that Fantilli kid who was drafted 2nd overall. He's like, what the? Well, I guess I have to too.
Which is, and that's something that Babcock should know better. And as I think,
but everything that guy has ever done throughout his career has been to get the upper hand and to hold stuff over people's heads. Everything.
We don't know that. Like, while he has had fights with people, like Franzen didn't like him in Detroit. What's his name? Commodore. Is the most outspoken critic of him, like, has been a critic forever, but he's a bit of a blowhard himself. I've lost a lot of respect for Commodore.
I've heard why Commodore doesn't like him. Like, the Commodore outside of the Babcock stuff is a little bit much, but like when he talks about Babcock, there's a reason why he doesn't like Babcock.
Yeah, and it's a valid reason.
Reason.
And he has fucked players over, but
Mike Modano, Jason Spezza, fucking Mitch Marner, and the list goes on and on and on.
You're right. He knows how to coach, though, right? 2 Olympic gold medals. He's won at every level. Has he been a prick from that long? He's won from ACAC Alberta College Hockey to the University of Lethbridge as a university championship. He's won a Memorial Cup with Spokane. He's won a Stanley Cup, and he's won gold medals. Like, the fucker knows how to coach.
But there's a reason why the Leafs said to him, at $6 million a year in 2019, pack your shit, get out of here.
Yep, you're right, because there's only so much
prick.
Like he has to be a prick, and maybe he just like he works so hard and won at every level that maybe he just got a bit of a god complex himself, right? And then just like, if you want to win, you do what I say, you do what I do. Like, like, can I see pictures on your phone? No. I guess you don't want to win, and then
I guess you're not playing here then. And younger kids they probably scared for their lives because it's so hard to get into the NHL. Because once you're in, you're in. Like, if you get 5 years in, you're in. So you have a guy who's a fucking a fourth liner, or like I said, on a PTO. He's like, I guess, fuck, this is fucking weird.
And let's say you're a 23-year-old came to camp, you're dating an Instagram model, and she just sent you a whole schwack of nudes that morning. Consensual adults, and like I'm not sharing that with my fucking coach. That's my girl, and she's allowed to send me.
I can't remember where I saw this or heard about, because I've been on a deep dive with this Babcock thing since it came out on Spit and Chicklets last week. I haven't listened to Spit and Chicklets in quite some time, but this all came out with Bizanet there. And there was a one guy, an NHL guy who's not a big fan of Babcock, got screwed over by him at some point in his career. And he said, just imagine if a kid who's 21, 22 years old, just getting into the league, he says, what if that kid is gay? And there's nothing wrong being gay. I'm not saying that at all, like not one bit. But what happens if this kid, brand new to the NHL, just signed a free agent contract or got drafted or whatever, hasn't come out of the closet yet to either his parents or to his teammates or to the team or whoever, because the NHL culture is still the NHL culture. It's better than it was 20, 30 years ago, 100%. But what happens if this kid is gay and all of a sudden fucking these pictures of this guy and his boyfriend are up on the Babcock's big screen? Babcock's the kind of guy, and from all accounts, Babcock's the kind of guy that would hold this over this kid's head. He might not say anything, but he might later on in the season say, oh, fuck, I got something on you, you little prick. He's that kind of a guy.
Well, and that would be the guy that says, no, I'm not going to show you pictures on my phone. I'm uncomfortable
So
with
then
it.
he doesn't make the team.
Yeah, and you don't know that.
Right?
Yeah, but and that's kind of the exact same thing. Well, no, but it's exactly what your for instance is kind of the same as mine, right? I don't want to show you pictures of my girlfriend, all these nudes she showed me, and
100%.
I don't want to show you pictures of a selfie of me and my boyfriend, because once again, that's information that is, it's none of your fucking business. And that's what that's what makes me scratch my head so much. Weird. I can't imagine, here, I'll DM you a couple, right? But you ain't getting my fucking phone.
Well, like we saw, like we didn't record last Thursday. We were out at the Davis at the 1139 ranch there on Thursday night. I got a little into her, but that doesn't matter a whole bunch right now. But
you did get a little into her.
I did. But we saw some people we haven't seen for quite some time, right? Like some friends and people we haven't seen, and kids that have grown up and on and on. Not once did I say, hey, can I see your phone so I can look at some pictures?
No one asked for pictures. Pictures were shared, right? Like, holy fuck.
Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say, hey, give me your phone. I want to scroll through.
Yeah. And you had
I'm going to put it up on I'm going to put it up on the big screen.
Yeah, let's get your Apple share and stuff like that out, right?
Hey, what's the Wi-Fi here so I can stream it over here? No.
And then all of us are adults too. Like when you hand over a phone to look at a picture,
you
right?
give it back.
It's not scroll. It's not. You're not ripping through Tinder here right now.
It's bizarre. It's so bizarre that he was doing that, and you're like, well, I guess like as a rookie, I guess this is normal. I don't know. I've never been in the NHL before. I don't know if this is a normal thing.
Yeah, it needs so much more context. I would love to know.
There has to be something more, because on its exterior, what we described, we said an adult said, "Hey, can I see some pictures on your phone?" If I said that to you, I don't think that's a fireable offense, right?
No. Especially as a boss or superior. Like
hey, how's your summer? Can I see some pictures?
Well, and it's how do you approach it then?
It's
like
odd,
I want to get to know everybody. And then according to Friedman, when he had when he was hiring the rest of his staff, like since he got the job, whatever, 40 days ago, office staff and everything, he would do it with them as well. It's like, do you mind sharing pictures? I'd like to get to know the people that I'm working with. And he's done it with, according to Friedman, like hundreds of people. It's not that weird. Well, it wasn't that weird. No one was offended about it. People knew it's a thing that he did under the guise of getting to know people better. And unless, like, maybe, like, there's so many things that we can go. Like, maybe a guy said no, and it's like, what, you're not a team player? and his reasons can be his own why he didn't want to share pictures. It's
Yeah, it's
or was
odd.
he forceful? Like it's what it's it
Like you
is
said,
odd.
like you said, and like I said, Dave, like if there was a Columbus Blue Jackets team building fucking thing where, hey, let's put some pictures up, we'll make a fucking montage video, we'll put some music to it with all of our families on it, we'll play it, and here you go, here's a couple pictures from everybody, thank you very much, right? Done. Like I said, we had the pictures on the wall at work. Here's why I work safe. Done. We sent some pictures in, put them up on the wall. Done. This private one-on-one, looking at, because most pictures are private. There's a reason why there's a lock on people's fucking phones, right? So you're not, and I have nothing on my phone that would hurt my family, friends, or anything else. Like there's no pictures, nothing that would ever hurt anyone. But there's people who there's some stuff on their phones. They probably should take care of that, and but that's a them thing. The whole thing is so odd that I don't think we're ever going to hear anything about, and that's why he resigned yesterday. Like I think that it's and another thing about this, Dave, I'm glad that and yes, like there are some snowflake kids out there. I 100% agree with you, but I'm glad that when somebody doesn't feel right and something doesn't look right, that they say something. Because we went through, and hockey's got a bad reputation here in Canada. It really does. And so for guys to say something finally and just go, you know what? Can someone else take a look at this? Because this doesn't seem right.
But did someone say something?
You know what I mean? Like it's
No. But like, here's what I mean on this. Like, and all credit to Bissonnette for saying he heard it, he said it, and then he didn't back down when Jenner and Goudreau and the
yeah.
Jackets came out with their statements. He didn't back down. And is there someone like who talked to one of the young kids and said like, yeah, fuck man, that ain't cool. Fuck that fucking guy, right? Like
Maybe.
and
Like,
is
there an old guy that Babcock besmirched and fucking says, let's get this guy? I don't know. It's just, it's so odd. I mean, like it's so odd. Like the hockey community is very tight knit. Like everybody's 3 degrees separation from everybody, right? And was it we're out to get Babcock? But then why would Columbus hire the guy? Because
and that's the other question,
and actually that's question number one I should have let off with. Why the fuck would you hire a guy that nobody in the hockey and I'm going to say this, nobody in the hockey community likes? Nobody.
Well,
every person who talks, I've never heard one person say, fuck, you know what, Babcock, he's a good coach, but he's a good guy. No one's ever said that.
Well, we got to ask different people, I guess. But I hear you. His reputation does precede him. But when he was coaching Detroit, and maybe that's one of the things too, because he didn't want to fucking play nice with the owners either. He goes, no, I'm not re-signing for Detroit. I'm a free agent coach, and I'm gonna set the market value for coaches of my level, and that's what he did. Right? He got paid gross amounts, highest paid coach ever, I think.
$6 million. He got a lot of offers going when he went to the Leafs. Yeah, for $6 million a year, and they were happy to say, yeah, see you later. They were happy to see him go. Yeah,
because they were underperforming, and like especially his, excuse me, quote unquote motivational techniques by searing young players, trying to get them to fall in line into. Not in line, fall into his line of thinking.
No, it's crazy.
So maybe like on the brass side of things, like we're not doing this fucker any favors either, because he tried holding us hostage, which he did, right, and set the market.
Yeah, and, what was crazy today is that, and it's crazy. Like the whole thing is so nuts. Jarkko Kukalainen, the GM of the Blue Jackets, and then John Davidson, well respected John Davidson. I've always liked that guy when he's on TV and everything else. He's been great. I remember watching him on fucking the satellite hot stove back in the day, back in the 90s. There,
He was the
Always great.
voice on EA Sports for a while too.
Always great. He was always great. They did a lot of backpedaling. They say we made a mistake. How do you make that big of a mistake? Like how and keep your job? That's crazy to me.
There's no way they hired Babcock without ownership's permission.
No, I understand that, but they're paid to do the research for the owners because the owners don't give a fuck. They might to an extent, but
they got to give a bit of a fuck, no?
But they don't know. Like what he's rehabbed. He's done his thing. He's said sorry and he says all the right things, and we can trust him now. Right?
Yeah.
And for them 24 hours later to say, yeah, oh geez, that was a huge mistake. Or is that just fucking going to the what the fans want to hear? Because Babcock's never going to win in the court of public opinion, no matter what.
No, and that's what in the podcast what Friedman was talking about too. Like you knew when you brought him on, he was going to have to be perfect, and you knew he was going to be under the microscope. And for this to last all of 2 months,
didn't get to training camp.
Didn't get to training camp. He was on his way to rookie camp, for fuck's sake. Right? And he had a staff assembled. It's so weird. Like there's just something that's not
out yet that's going to come out.
Yeah.
Or maybe never. I don't know. I don't know. And it's not that he's a creep. He's not an abuser. He's a bully, and he's a prick.
Yeah, like he plays mind games all the time, and that's kind of the coach he is. And it's weird. It's weird because but one thing I will say about him, he is not dumb. He is not dumb.
No.
If he thought this was going to get him in trouble, he would not do it. Like this wasn't poking the bear. He wasn't saying like, well, they think they control me, I can do this anyways. Like he's not doing that. So
no, you don't make
you
don't make $50-60 million in the game of hockey by being dumb.
Right.
You don't, especially as a coach. You got to have some smarts.
I would love for something to come out about exactly the incident and or the player, or was it an offhanded comment or something like that? Did he make a guy uncomfortable? Or
the thing that caught me, because I wasn't given a whole bunch of I didn't expect this to be a podcast topic by any means, but just when the timeline of it all just started to pique my interest a lot. The timeline that's what got me. If they would have, like when Bizanet first, or Bizanet or whatever, Biznasty on Spittin' Chickens, when he said what he said, if Babcock gets fired that day or resigns that day, I'd have went, well, no shit.
Yeah.
Now, but then how it dragged on, and the NHLPA gets involved, the team says everything's fine, and how it dragged on for 4 or 5 days afterwards. That's what's the confusing part to me.
Yeah, and and how divided is this locker room now?
Horrible.
Like, so now Jenner and Goudreau have to come back and look at management and say, Jesus fucking Christ.
So you told me this guy was on the up and up. I said something that I probably wasn't comfortable saying for you. Now we also this is also fucked up. And I thought about this. Now we have a locker room divided because now I'm going to be considered a rat because you said something great about this coach. Like our leadership group said something great about a guy who never coached a game for this fucking team, and I'm the rat who got him fired. A guy who never played or coached for one game is gone, and he divided that locker room.
Yeah, like the new coach, I forget his name.
Then how can you have a like getting free agents or whatever come say they hired fucking Babcock? I'm not fucking going there.
Yeah,
like how dumb are these fuckers?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like, what do you say as a coach? Like, how's your first meeting? I know there's some things have happened, and now you got to pull in the leadership group and talk to them, and then And then like, but the leadership, like Goudreau and Jenner have to like I'm now walking around with egg all over my fucking face. Like he did nothing. Like who's fucking bitch? Who's the whiny tit
So
around
you
here? What
guys
did he
asked
do?
me to back up this motherfucker who got called into the NHLPA office on and on and on. And so now I back this guy and I say he's a good guy. And now there's a kid on this team or an old man or an aging vet or whatever on this team who went to the NHLPA and said he's not a good guy. It's a mess
So
for
if you're
a
Goudreau,
guy who never coached one game for that team.
and so now if you're Goudreau and Jenner, are you mad at management, or are you mad at Kekalainen and Davidson, or are you like around the room like you're like help me explain what did like who did he piss off? Like I want to know because he didn't freak me out. I wasn't offended. I didn't know. I like and I would assume, especially I don't know this Jenner guy, but I know obviously know Goudreau for his time in Calgary. He seems like a pretty stand-up guy, aside from the fact he let Calgary wait till the last minute for that contract. But you know, it's the Flames, so fuck them. Uh Honestly, I want to know. I want to know who he offended. Like I'm not mad. I'm not mad. If he's a creep, I want him gone. I'm glad he's gone. But I
Hockey's
want
a
to
better
know
place
because
without him in the game. I honestly believe that.
because I
The
my
hockey culture is
experience
a
with
rough one.
him and doing that.
The game's better without him in it. It's but yeah,
You
it's
know,
crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
if they get hockey back in the Winter Olympics, which I think they're going to do, I'm still okay with Babcock coaching that team. As long as he doesn't have to motivate them, just X and O those motherfuckers.
Well, and that's the thing, like because those guys are all megastars, right? So he can't do anything to those guys.
Yeah, they're not afraid of him. They're not intimidated. They want to win.
Babs.
Yeah,
because I could have coached that 2014 team. You could have coached it, and you don't skate.
I
Right?
can skate,
I
but
didn't
only
say I didn't say you couldn't. I said you don't.
I don't skate.
You
You're
don't skate.
correct.
That's what I said. Yeah, that 2014 team would have won no matter who was the coach behind there. In 2010, Luongo fucking whatever was almost at the downfall of that one. But yeah, it's just an odd situation. The guys are pricking. Like I said before we went on air tonight, I read a quote today, and there was a person that said there's two types of people in this world. There's people who hate Mike Babcock, and there's people who haven't met him. And so there it is. And there's been no one defending him today. Everything I listened to a deep dive the last couple of days on this. Nobody's been defending him. No one's been saying he's a good guy. No one's saying that this was wrong. That not one person has come to Mike Babcock's defense. Even Mike Babcock, because there's probably some kind of a hush order now that he's probably getting paid by Columbus, whatever. Not even Mike Babcock is defending himself, right? So there's something there. I don't know. It's odd. I don't think it's a snowflake woke thing. I think it's just something just really fucked up.
I think it might have been an offhanded comment that someone took the wrong way. I honestly think it's that, or someone didn't want to share pictures. It's like, oh fuck you. I like, and it's really odd.
You just wonder where it's going to.
And Columbus as a franchise needs a fucking break. Like, just they're terrible.
They've been trying for a long time, and they haven't gotten anywhere quick. Really,
exactly.
They had that 1-4 sweep in the bubble. I think it was in Tampa in 2020, and that's really it. They haven't been the playoff team. Like, they're just not very good.
Well, and also to add to that point, they're fucking up all the time. Like you go from I don't know who's coach to Tortorella, and then Tortorella to someone, and then to Babcock. Like, the retreads aren't doing it for you. What are they going to hire? Fucking
and that's the thing, Dave. Like, fuck.
Are they going to hire Boudreaux?
That's the thing. Why does the National Hockey League keep going to these fucking retread coaches? Try something new.
Mm-hmm.
They did it here in fucking Lethbridge, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. Like, the Good Old Boys Network, they're going to keep their boys hired.
And the good old boys don't know today's athletes, don't know today's parents, because parents are involved today. Don't you mistake. A lot of these kids who play hockey nowadays, their parents got dosed. They don't need to fucking play. I mean, don't, right? So it's one of those things. So they don't know today's athletes. They don't know the training regimens. They don't know it. So all these old boys, it's time to go. Time to try something new. What would it hurt?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Flames finally did it with the Hushka here, or whatever the fuck his name is. And that's how Edmonton's having their success as well. That's the coach from the minors as well. Like sometimes maybe Pierre Laviolette and Torts and Boudreaux aren't the answer to their
Aren't the
fucking
guy for
problem,
the fucking job.
right? The Vancouver hired what's his name, Tocchet, but he got blackballed for that gambling thing, whatever, 15, 20
years ago.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens there. But I'm
Yeah, look, we'll get off this in half a second here.
Claude Julien is going to have a fucking coaching job, right? Like it's just always the same fucking
try
people.
something new.
It
might work.
And and it did work with Tampa Bay, John Cooper, right? That's the coach there.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 cups there, 1.5 cups there. Like, so he's all right.
Yeah, no, it's the whole thing's nuts, and he, by all intent, it's an odd situation, and you hope nothing more comes out of this. But I think it's a good thing that guys are in hockey locker rooms, because like I said, I grew up in that a little bit back in the early '90s, and it was rough, man. Like there was GMs and coaches, and it was brutal. You couldn't say a fucking word. And now it's changed, and the hockey culture is bad. Hockey Canada is still under investigation. There's a lot of shit going on in there still that they haven't named those guys in the 2019 World Junior Team, and it's just how hockey can hide things. But now it's nice that I think it's a good thing that if something looks wrong and feels wrong, it probably is wrong. And if kids want to, they're allowed to say things. I don't think it's a snowflake thing. I think there was something a little bit bigger on this one, because the timeline, and I've said it before earlier on, the timeline stinks to me. The timeline.
It's like it was almost brushed over, and someone phoned someone and say, take a deeper look and talk to this guy.
And it was done.
And then that's like 2 days later. Who else should we talk to? And okay, so these 3 guys said this. Like I don't know, but it has to be something like that, because like I thought this was dead and buried on
Thursday.
Friday. Yeah.
In fact, we didn't even talk about it Thursday night. We're like, but Friday was like, oh, good. Yeah, it's just fucking weird. Anyways, the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 Beer with Sports, talking a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.